Define each in your own terms: the philosophy, sociology, anthropology, and psychology. Number 1 is the philosophy. Philosophy is an activity that people engage in when they strive to comprehend fundamental truths about themselves, the world in which they live, and their relationship to the world and to one another. Second is the sociology. The scientific study of human groups, is known as sociology. It gives you the tools you need to comprehend how and why our society works, the impact of social institutions on individual lives, and the obstacles of social interaction between people. Third is the anthropology. Anthropology is the study of what makes us humans. Also compare humans with other animals, most often other primates like monkey, to see what we have in common with them and what makes us unique. Fourth is psychology. Psychology is the study of behavior and the mind, and it encompasses all aspects of conscious and unconsciousness experience as well as thought. Discuss the idea of the self in each: the philosophy, sociology, anthropology, and psychology. First is the philosophy. Philosophy, the study of the multiple characteristics of identification that distinguish one topic of experience from other experience, is called self-philosophy. The self is sometimes viewed as a single entity that is fundamentally linked to consciousness and awareness and agency. Second is sociology. The sociological self-perception is a rather consistent collection of beliefs about who we are in respect to ourselves, others, and social systems. In the sense that it is shaped through interactions with other people, the self is socially produced. Third is anthropology. Anthropological self is the role of selfhood in defining human civilizations, and each human individual within it is crucial. The self of which we are aware is a model other self created in reaction to the models of us presented to us by others. Fourth is psychology. The psychology study of cognitive, or affective representations of one's identity or the subject of experience is known as self-psychology. Self-awareness, self-esteem, self-knowledge, and self-perfection are just a few of the numerous elements that made up the self. Socrates, Plato, Freud, Descartes, and Augustine explained their ideas of the self. Socrates. According to Socrates, the self-perception reveals man's characters, and the rationale on which he thinks is a product of his thoughts. Socrates questioned how we value what others say without comprehending the idea of independent thinking. Next is Plato. According to Plato believed that the true self of human beings is the reason or intellect that makes up their soul and is separate from our body, at least in many of his dialogues. For his part, Aristotle maintained that the human being is made up of both body and soul, and that the soul cannot be separated from the body. Next is Freud. The self, according to Freud, was separated into three levels: the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. Despite that the conscious self plays a crucial role in our lives, it is the unconscious self that fascinates Freud the most and has the most influence on our personalities. Next is Descartes. According to Descartes, claimed that the mind is the seat of our consciousness because of his ties to dualism. It gives our identity and sense of self because it holds our desires, intelligence, and passions. Fifth is Augustine. According to Augustine, the sense of self is his relation to God, both in his recognition of God's love and his response to it. Differentiate the following and elaborate. The first one is the moi and the person. What is moi? Moi is a person's basic identity, and the person has a lot to do with what it means to live in a specific institution, a specific family, a specific religion, a specific nationality, and how to behave in the face of others' expectation and influence. Second is I and me. This distinction was originally based on the idea that the former me represents the self as an object of experience, while the letter I reflects the self as a subject of experience. The third is identity and self. The identity refers to one's social phase. This is how one sees themselves and how others see them. And the self is a term that refers to a person's concept of who I am and what I am. Fourth is ID, ego, and superego. The ego means is a conscious part of our personality that mediates between the ID and the superego and makes decisions. And the ID is the impulsive part of our personality that is driven by pleasure and repulsed by pain. And the last one is the superego. Superego is the judgmental and morally correct part of your personality. Fifth is private self and public self. The knowledge about a person that he or she finds difficult to express publicity is referred to as private self. The public self is how other people perceive an individual as portrayed through public information, social interactions, and public action. 6 is actual self, ideal self, and ought self. The actual self is how a person sees himself right now. It is who we are at our core. It is the way we think, feel, look, and behave. As person ideal self is how he or she wants to see himself or herself. It's how we'd like to be. It's a fictitious image that were created through time. 7 is downward social comparisons and upward social comparison. The direction of social comparison when we compare ourselves to someone who is considered to be or performing better than we are. We are engaging in upward social comparisons. When we compare ourselves to someone who is considered to be or performing worse than us, we are engaging in downward social comparison. How does language acquisition relate to children and their self? How does it affect them when they become adults? My answer is, children pick up languages fast, easily, and without any official instructions, whether their parents try to teach them or not. It happens on its own. Parents and other caregivers do not educate their children to speak, but they do play a significant role in their lives by talking to them. Also, becoming an adults are held to higher standards than adolescents and children. Expectations are accompanied by obligation as one achieve and demonstrate that he or she is mature enough to take new problems and responsibilities.